What is going on, everybody? I'm BobbyFi, and very happy to be doing the BetQL show today with my friend Matt Belman. I'm sure you guys know him throughout the industry. I'm going to let Matt introduce himself. He's a good DFS player, a really good sports bettor in general. We ended up meeting up in Florida and sweated an NFL Sunday, and we've been friends, and I've been wanting to do a show with him. So here's the first show with Matt, and we're going to get his thoughts on everything that we're going to bet on today, in both DFS and sports betting. Matt, I'm going to let you go ahead and just talk a little bit about where you are, what you do and all that stuff, and we'll go from there.
My man, appreciate you having me on here. I feel like it's been a long time coming. As you just mentioned, I feel like our conversation is good enough material for any videos. So, yeah, I'm on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt, and me and my partner Ryan Kostrowski run a small DFS website called the DFS 5-Pack. We've got a nice little niche in our community, and we love it, man. So we're trying to expand. Really pumped to be doing this video with you. As betting and sports gambling grows throughout the industry and throughout the country, I'm just excited to make more videos and do more content on it. So let's get this, man.
Absolutely. I'm ready. And we got a great slate to do it. This is another reason I'm happy to have you on, especially today. You can see right here, I've got Matt over here, and we've got our basic page called up. It's just basically the Hawks Wizards is our free game of the day, which is awesome because we can talk about it from a DFS perspective and from a straight sports betting perspective. Before we get into the DFS part, I'm just going to ask you real quick, Matt, what do you think just from a straight sports betting line on this? How would you approach it, especially with Trey being questionable? They play tomorrow at Memphis, as we talked about before the show. How are you sort of approaching this game?
So Trey in, Trey out, Trey play a little bit, Trey play a lot. Give me Atlanta in this game no matter what.
Ooh.
So couple things. If Trey plays, I obviously like them. I like them more because Trey is their best player. However, if Trey's out, you're going to get the line jump to right now it's hovering around 3.5 because books aren't sure. It'll probably jump up to around 5. I think that's major value there. Oftentimes, you see teams play really well without their best player. I think that happens tonight in a really good spot against Washington, who just so happens to be coming back from a decently long West Coast road trip. I love picking on teams in that spot. Give me Atlanta here. If Trey plays, I like him more. But if not, I like him as a bigger dog. What's your take?
I'm interested in that idea. I sort of liked the idea initially of maybe betting the Wizards in the hope that Trey doesn't play, like for some of the reasons you talked about pre-show. Like, look, they play tomorrow. I do think it does give them an advantage, although I still think we've seen it over and over again this week. I mean, the Warriors being the most recent example, not last night, but the other night. With everybody out against Denver on the road and they still go in and they get that win. These teams are rallying around, and so I agree that maybe Trey being out doesn't affect it quite as much, but I sort of like speculating the other way. We over here at BetQL have the game as we have the Wizards winning by 2, and which makes it that's why it's just a 2-star bet. I'm curious to see where the public money is right now on this, so we're going to take a quick glance at that. Go ahead. You already have it up?
Yeah, so it seems like the public is on Washington in this game, which makes me like Atlanta more. I'm a contrarian better. Yeah. One thing you mentioned, though, and I really like this idea, I wasn't even thinking about this. I'm not usually a middler type of guy, but both me and you have the opinion that Trey is limited, at least doesn't play in this game because they got a big revenge game against Memphis on deck. That would be a strategy I could get on board with, is betting Washington and then, and then taking Atlanta once the line moves and trying to middle the game. An alternate strategy that isn't in play all the time, but might be here.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that it's interesting from a DFS perspective. Like, if Trey's out, we'll jump over to the just DFS side for a minute. I'm just going to grab some of my DraftKings lineups and we'll take a look at those while we talk about it, because I mean these are shell lineups. I'm still going to have a lot of work to do. That Trey information is obviously huge for DFS. Like, I mean, that's why you can see Jeff Teague is in a good number of my first initial lineups over here. I also do have Trey and Jeff Teague, which is just sort of a mistake, I think, on that build. I'm going to switch that out. And I look, these are, again, just I wanted to highlight the players that I wanted to get in, and these are all going to be edited, but this is where I'm at as of this moment. And you can see, like, I like Bradley Beal. I think I would like to get more than 25% of them, which is where I'm currently at. But I think that I really like trying to get action in this game, and I like Beal better even if – I don't really care if Trey's in or out. I think Beal's going to have a big game. The problem is there's so many guys to spend on tonight. I'm running into issues. I like the really low-owned LeBron-Giannis MVP battle here in L.A. Like, I think you get ceiling games out of LeBron in tough spots. I won the last tournament I won was when LeBron. We were playing in Denver, and no one played LeBron. He was 5% owned or something. But that's the games where he usually shows up big. Now, Davis showed up big the last time these two teams played, and so did Giannis. I think Giannis brings it, and I think LeBron is the play tonight. I think everybody's going to play Davis compared to LeBron. Like, still not going to have crazy ownership, but he's going to have high ownership, and LeBron will be completely unowned on DK.
I love that call. I love that call. That's the last game of the night, obviously a big game. I think a defensive battle in that game. There's actually another player there who I love, but first off, let me just make sure because I'm watching this from the channel. Can you see it? Is the screen a little bit too low?
It might be too low. Sure. You know what? It is a little. I haven't perfected it yet. Since I updated my computer, weird things keep happening. So sorry about that. I'll make it a little bit more.
Just making sure you knew.
Yeah.
So as far as that game goes, a guy that I really want to get your opinion on, and I love the LeBron call and piggybacking with another guy in that game. What's your thoughts on Eric Bledsoe?
I think that's a really interesting play. I'm going to leave that one out on this slate because I like enough other things. I just have him basically out on my lineups. I think Bledsoe and Middleton make sense in a vacuum, but I don't think that I'm going to get any of it tonight.
It's a different Lakers team. It's a different Lakers team. He does have 40, 50, and 60 his last 3 games against the Lakers. Just saying. Yeah.
No, I mean, I hear you, man. I understand it. I just think there's other plays. Like look, I'm going in these initial lineups, I went very stars and scrubs, and then I have one that's a little bit more balanced that a DeRozan versus LeVert, you get the little back and forth there. I wanted to play Booker, make sure I had some exposure to him. I'm interested in Holiday if he's starting, and I really like KP. I would like to. I'm deciding how I'm going to stack this Atlanta-Washington game, and I'm waiting until we have the trade news till I really do anything about it because if he doesn't play, you could literally stack Teague and Reddish and I'm actually like Deadman. There's a lot of plays out there that actually you can get in real cheap, and then you can super stud it up while stacking that game. So I sort of like doing that. You get your Teague in there, you get your Reddish in there, you get Deadman, and you've got Beal on the other side. You actually already have like a game stack, and then you can literally play you could play LeBron and Giannis if you wanted to. You could do anything if you play all those really, really, really cheap guys. Actually, you probably couldn't get away with LeBron and Giannis, but you could play Lillard, who I like a lot and no one's going to talk about tonight. You could play Booker and you could play LeVert versus DeRozan. You could do whatever you want and stack that game cheaply if Trey is out, is my point.
So it's almost impossible to not go to that game if Trey is out. DeAndre Hunter is another guy. I mean, there's pieces amongst pieces that are in play there. Honestly enough, though, I like Atlanta in this game. I think this year. Teague is just a set it and forget it type of guy. But 2 guys I'm looking at from the Washington side, I'm interested to get your take on. Shabazz Napier going right back there with Ish Smith out.
Yep.
And then a guy I love tonight, Jerome Robinson.
That's who I've got right here, man. I look, you can see I got 33% of them so far. 2 of my big buy-ins so far. I mean, I don't know how much I'm going to end up with him in all, like really in 2 out of 3. It's going to depend on the Atlanta value. But I like that call a lot. And if we don't have, if you really want to push the envelope and get 2 to 3 studs, I mean, you can see I've got a lineup right here. This is really pushing the envelope. Obviously, I think I'm going to make some changes. But if these guys get their 6, 7x, these cheap guys, you get LeBron, Luka, and Giannis in the same lineup on DK. That could be 200 points plus from those 3. So
if Luka's out, you got Porzingis like you talked about.
Yeah, you got this lineup has like 400 point upside if things break your way. I don't like the Augustine part of it. I'd like to upgrade that, but it's you have to make some concessions if you're going to go that route.
He's $3K.
I know he's minimum. So
I mean, the thing about Augustine, I don't love him either. But here's the thing about Augustine. I was doing a little bit of writing earlier. He only in 6 games that he played in January, he was never under 4K. And the majority, in 4 of those games, he had 25 plus DK points. A different situation, but no 48, no Isaac. I just think he's a better, in fact, I know he's a better DFS player than Michael Carter-Williams.
Yeah.
MCW might play better than him tonight, but Augustine's the better player, and I'd rather play him at 3K. Not sure how you feel about it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on Augustine. I have I don't still want to go crazy with the Augustine thing until I find out the other information, but I will use him in a lineup where I'm going for literally minimum cost players with either McConnell or depending on who starts. I think people are a little too. Let me just ask you real quick about McConnell. I'm sort of jumping games here, but because we're sort of looking at my lineup.
I love it. I like a guy from this game. Go ahead.
Okay, so why is McConnell everybody on him and then they're not going to Holiday when they don't? Do they not realize the last game was a 35-point massacre? So maybe McConnell got those extra run because of that. Like, isn't there a chance that Holiday ends up getting more run here and is going to be a fraction of the ownership? I don't really understand that ownership projection across the industry. It seems a little too high on McConnell and a little too low. If you ask me on the guy who I think has higher upside for tournaments, which would be Holiday.
So I completely agree with you, man. McConnell looked good last time out, but he shows that. He's a solid, backup point guard in the league. For me, this all breaks down to, and I think you're right, I'd rather play Holiday over McConnell. But for me personally, and this goes to a point that I think gets often overlooked in DFS, whenever you've got guys out like Brogdon and potentially Warren out, people run to the fill-ins. And I get that because they're cheap and they're solid guys. But the guy that I love in this game is Sabonis. I think he absolutely eats in the spot against the Bulls. They get destroyed by big men. They're coming off an embarrassing loss against Milwaukee. No Brogdon, potentially no Ward. Like, give me all the Sabonis on a slate that's easy to afford him. Now, you can't roster the three guys you mentioned and Sabonis. You have to make concessions somewhere. So he's not a must, but I like him a lot here.
Yeah, I think that I'm also very high on Sabonis. I think he's pretty easy to play, and he's going to be really popular on FanDuel. I don't think he's going to be as popular on DraftKings because he's sort of at an awkward price tier. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like, people are going to pay all the way up or they're going to do a middling build, and he's sort of like a weird, in-betweener kind of price, but I love him too. I think he smashes tonight. I think he's a good shot at getting 50+, and that's what you would want for his price, with upside on that even. I mean, I also think that, if we hear – this may seem like a reach to you, but I'm on this play Oladipo if he plays until the end of time, until he ends up getting his game back. I know he's not the same. I'm not going to load up on him. I'll have, 10, 15%, something like that. But I'm going to keep playing this guy until he gets that monster game that we all know is coming. I'm telling you, he's a better player than a 5,400 player, and at zero ownership, I just can't help myself, especially with Brogdon out. So I'm going to throw Oladipo into a couple lineups personally, and wait. I'm telling you, one of these days he's going to put up 55 or 60. It'll get me to a guy who I like on FanDuel, who's sort of in a similar spot, and I just think he gets completely overlooked in this spot. I don't think you can ask for more upside, even though, yes, he hasn't shown it. We still know the player that he is.
I think the main point is that you don't need to get a ton of him to be over the field.
Right, exactly. That's a good point.
No one's going to play him. I don't love the spot against Chicago, but if he plays, they're hurting right now. Potentially no Warren, no Brogdon, already no Lamb. I definitely get that. I'm with you on, wanting to be on that before everyone else gets on it. It's almost like a baseball thing. You want to be the first one on it because that's when you can capitalize. Baseball coming up so soon, bro.
Oh, man, it's going to be fun.
So for me, I slightly like Bledsoe more at that price point.
I like it.
But it's just a gut feel, and I agree that I think Oladipo probably has higher upside.
Well, you talked me into a little bit of Bledsoe because I think that it makes some sense here.
If George Hill doesn't play.
Yeah, of course. But even still, I think that it's – he always – what is the reason he's always done this to the Lakers, though? I don't understand what it is, but he always has. I mean, this is not a team that you'd think a drive to the basket guy would really thrive against. But I'll get a little bit of exposure to him. He's so cheap he doesn't have to do much to get to 40, so I'm okay with it.
That's the thing about him. So he's uninspiring. He's more solid than spectacular at this point, whatever you want to call it. But he's so cheap now, bro. Under $6K for Bledsoe in a game that should be close. I mean, Milwaukee plays so many blowouts. He doesn't play full minutes half the time. Obviously he defers to Giannis. I think that they really not that they shut down Giannis, but they build the wall. I think they're going to need guys like Bledsoe. You mentioned Middleton. At 5,700, even Middleton is too cheap. But I like Bledsoe from that game. And I was really thinking about Davis because he is cheaper than LeBron.
Yep.
And he balled against Milwaukee last time out. But that's the square way to think about it, I think, now. I love the way you put it before. I love the pivot to Bron here, who, I mean, you know how I feel about Bron being Cleveland born and raised. That's my guy.
Yeah.
I can always get on board with some Bron, and this is a big game for the Lakers who lost to Milwaukee last time.
These are the games, and this is what I always point out to people, is you don't play the studs. If the Lakers are playing Atlanta, I don't really have a ton of interest in LeBron. Sure, he can get there because it's a great matchup, but I want him in the tough spots. I want him in the games against Denver when they're on the road and they're fighting. I want him against the Clippers. I want him against the tough teams where they're going to need him. I want him against in this spot against Milwaukee, and I feel the same way about Giannis. You could always play, but I think Giannis is just I think he goes after it tonight.
Well, Giannis is just younger at this point, so he brings it every single night. LeBron picks his spots. A guy that,
exactly.
I agree with you. You don't want to play studs just because they're in the best matchup. I view Jimmy Butler in so much the same way. I don't love him when he plays Washington, but I love him when, he's in a really tough game against a team that's higher than him in the standings. So great point right there.
I think that's exactly right, and you know what is interesting. I did some research and I looked at Utah. They've allowed the highest fantasy point games, literally I think it's 6 of the highest 12 last year were against Utah. That was last year when they were better defensively, and it's 4 of the top 8 this year. Giannis, I think, has 2 of them. It looks like a million, but and Lillard has 2 of them also because he put up a million against them twice. It's an interesting thing, though. That's what happens against these teams, and people don't catch on to it. So it's a lot of where I've done really well in DFS is taking that lower-owned superstar in a perceived bad matchup, which is actually in reality an excellent matchup.
You've really gotten me on that, man. Since we started talking, it's something that you harp on a lot. I remember yesterday using Beal. It must have been in Utah, I think last year. He went off. You're so right. Getting these superstars. Now, it's got to be the right spot. They're not always going to ball because they're not in the greatest spot. Sure. But the point is that when they do ball, you're getting them at such lower ownership. And you want to take down the tournament. The point is to get to the top of the mountain. So I'm 100% about it.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a quick minute to address chat. Joe, want to say what's up to you. Appreciate you always tuning in. Joe Pagliarulo. Abrasive. I'm glad you're with us. I know it is. It's a fun one, man. It's nice to have Matt here. It makes things a lot better, a lot smoother to have another educated person because it's hard to sometimes just be talking to yourself on these shows. And where's Ryan? I don't know who is that referring to?
That's my partner. Probably.
Oh, that's your partner. Okay, there you go. Oh, my bad. Okay, I didn't realize. So Joe follows both of us pretty close. That's pretty cool.
Cool.
K9 Bronco, what's up, buddy? I'm looking for questions here, but what's up, Kenneth? What's up, JT Grizzle? John Collins going ham. I think that it's a possibility, and he will be overlooked tonight. I prefer Sabonis. How about you?
I prefer Sabonis too, and I think Collins gets more love. So, it's difficult with Trae out because all those guys get a bump, but I like Sabonis more. I'm going to plant my flag there, and I think Collins gets more love, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah. People here we got Abrasive talking about how Dedmon is sneaky, but he's saying about Thomas Bryant. I think it's the wrong slate, man. I understand the speculation that at some point he gets 20 plus minutes and puts up 35 fantasy points. I just don't think you would ever need to make that gamble on this kind of a slate, right?
I agree. I was looking at him too. He has 20 plus in multiple games in a row, but that's his upside right now because he doesn't play a lot of minutes. And here's my thing about Dedmon, who I like, but I also think that it's not the slate for him because it's hard to play him over Baines.
Yeah.
And there's so much value already on this slate. I'm not sure I'm trying to use both Dedmon and Baines. You can, but then you're not using Porzingis, and then you probably aren't using a lot of the guard value. So I get it, and I view Dedmon over Bryant. So, I doubt I get to either of them, but I'd use Dedmon over Bryant personally.
Yeah, I'm with you completely on that one.
One game I want to ask you about, because just from a betting angle, it's my favorite game of the night. I don't think it gets any love from a DFS perspective. I don't love it, but I want to go over it with you. Utah-Boston. Mm-hmm. So my play of the night is this game, but I want to hear you talk on it first.
Okay, I'm going to go with my personal take on this game would be I have a feeling we're going to be on different pages on this one. I think that I would go on the Celtics. I think the sharp money is probably on the Jazz, but I would go with the Celtics here. I haven't liked what I've seen from the Jazz, especially defensively lately. They've been very streaky, and on the road, they're not the same team that they are at home, even though they've had some good road wins. But going to the East Coast, only 1.5 points. Kemba's going to get a little bit more minutes tonight. I love the step that Tatum has made. I think it's genuine. I think he's in play in DFS, by the way, tonight. He fits into that category. This perception of Utah's defense is a perception. As long as Mike Conley is on the court, this is not a good defensive team. That's the truth. And Joe Ingles, that doesn't help either. That's why his minutes have been cut back. They're trying to get O'Neal in there more. I like the Celtics in this game. I don't feel great about it, but that's where I would lean. I guess you're going to tell me about why the Jazz would play.
So you're right. We are going to be on opposite sides.
I knew it.
But you knew I like the Jazz, though. This is a spot that I've had circled for the past week since Utah lost as a sharp play in Utah as like a 5-point favorite against Boston. So a couple things here. One, you mentioned they're streaky, and Utah is definitely streaky, but they're streaking up right now. They're hot. They were going through another one of their rough skids, which they've gone through, it seems like a couple of them this year. They got out of it in the second half against Washington, then beat up on 2 shittier teams in Cleveland and New York. This is a big game for them, especially after Boston beat them at home. I think you see their best effort. And for me, while injuries don't mean a ton for me, I think these teams are very even at the start. with no Brown and no Hayward, I think Utah just has the better team in a game that I think both teams play really hard. I think the spread is small for a reason. I think Utah wins this game straight up, so I like the points. But again, it's never a cakewalk going into Boston and taking the road team. So I can understand all your reasons.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I would have been betting on this, but I would advise people. Matt is a much better straight sports better than I am. I'm literally just using the BetQL tools and taking the 4 and 5 star bets and literally just printing money with that. But I'm not betting as heavy, and Matt's been doing this forever, and I don't have we can't give away the premium information in that game. But I think the sharp money is on the Jazz from what I've seen. So just kind of interesting to note that one. I would defer to Matt on this one. But I also do think that the game has, just from a DFS perspective, so center sucks on FanDuel. I don't think I'm going to end up playing Gobert, but I think he's like a relative play because I have two guys that are locked in. He's just an interesting pivot off of the incredibly chalky Vucevic, who I think is chalky for a good reason. I don't know. I'm thinking about Gobert, but the real guy I'm interested in this game, I mean, Joe Ingles is 3,900 on FanDuel if you need to really punt. But I don't think you need to go there. I would lean. I'm leaning on playing a little bit of Tatum tonight. I'm not thrown off entirely by this price. There's two guys at the same price range that I'm really interested in tonight, and that's Tatum, that are going to be like low owned. The other one's who's going to be completely unowned is Kristaps. I think when guys find their stride back or in Tatum's case take the turn, and you have all the injuries sort of coinciding at once, I think that we have to just get rid of his entire whatever we think about him. That 9.5 is not even unfair. He can put up 50 real life points. They're going to need him to play in this game. So if I like the Celtics to even keep it close, which they should be able to keep it close at home, but I would think Tatum would have a really solid game. And you look, nobody plays players against Utah, and I just talked about it. You get those ceiling games sometimes, so I'm sort of have my eye on Tatum a little bit.
I certainly don't mind it, and it plays into what we just talked about, playing like the low-owned superstars, which I always love. It's not for me on this slate because I think you see Utah's best effort against him. No Brown and no Tatum, I think actually hurts because Utah can just really key in on him. And there's just so many other guys I like on this slate. So if you told me you love Tatum, it's not like I would try to talk you off him. I just prefer, you mentioned Porzingis. I prefer Porzingis. I prefer LeBron, as you talked about earlier. So that's kind of where I stand.
So let's talk real quickly about Porzingis. I'm just going to ask, okay, I understand they had one overtime game. And I understand that he was going off while Luka was gone. But he's done the exact same thing with Luka back. And the most important thing, he looks like the old Porzingis to me. And I mean, especially defensively, he has, 3 or more blocks in 3 of the last 4 that he's played. Actually, in 5 of the last 6 that he's played, he's got 3 or more blocks. Look, you get 5 blocks from him, that's 15 points on FanDuel. This is not a genius thing. You have a young team that attacks the rim like crazy. It's hard to predict steals and blocks. This is a spot where I expect Porzingis to somehow end up in the 5 range in that area. So let me give him 15 points right there. And this guy has been unbelievable. Rebounding the ball, he's double digits now in 4 straight games, 6 out of 7, where the only one he didn't have is he had a 9 rebound game. He's put up 56 or more in 6 out of the last 8 games. I don't understand why people can't just catch on and say, look, it's a good matchup for him too, by the way. Memphis Pace, are you kidding me? I like Kristaps a lot tonight as a very low-owned play. I might like too many low-owned plays today, but I really like him, and I think that no one's going to play him. I think he's an excellent chance of outscoring Anthony Davis tonight, and I don't mind playing both of them together in certain lineups, but they're a similar price range on DK. On FanDuel, I much prefer Kristaps. It's just where I'm at, man. I know it sounds crazy, but why aren't we just going to keep playing the guy who's tearing it up every single game?
So a couple things right here. I don't think it's crazy at all. Part of DFS is being able to soak information in, right, and not being too stubborn. Because everyone that plays DFS is stubborn. Everyone thinks they know everything. It's just it's the nature of the beast. Both you and my partner Ryan, 2 guys who I talk a lot of DFS with, 2 guys who I respect, the most in the industry, both love Porzingis tonight. So that tells me something. Both with a lot of the same points. He's been watching a lot of Porzingis lately and mentioned a lot of the same things you just did. He looks like the Porzingis of old. I've always been a Porzingis fan. The only thing I disagree with you here, and I don't think he's going to be chalk, but do you really think he's going to be that low owned? The only reason I don't think he's going to get more love than he should is because he's only center eligible. But if Luka misses this game, he's going to be chalky, I think.
I think that if Luka misses, he'll definitely get his ownership. But the center eligible with everybody playing Baines, he just can't be high owned on DraftKings. His projections are going to make him low owned, I believe, on FanDuel. Do we really think there's a chance that Luka's going to miss this game? I mean, what are our thoughts there?
I'm not sure. I always lean no, but now in the NBA nowadays, I feel like you almost have to lean yes with a lot of these guys that they're going to miss. Now, Luka isn't one of those guys I suspect to miss, but he didn't practice yesterday, and he is listed as questionable. So I'm not sure. And this game already has, Dallas already has value opening up with Tim Hardaway out.
That's another reason I like Kristaps too, by the way. It's more shots to go around too.
Seth Curry is balling right now also. He's a guy I'm looking at. And I think he's just, we talk about this all the time, my partner Ryan. He's a guy that is underrated just because of how good Steph is. Like, he's obviously not as good as Steph, but he's got game. He's good.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think I can get myself to play him because he's so scoring dependent. But
True.
on these giant slates, it's not my favorite spot to get him. But it certainly makes some sense. And I agree that he's. I mean, there is value with that without Hardaway. He does shoot the ball 15 times a game lately, basically. I want to just go ahead.
All of a sudden, if you get Luka out, then you got to start looking at the Curry and DeLon Wrights of the world.
Oh, of course, absolutely. That changes things. But again, I'm looking at the ownership on D. I want to see where where we have him on. I'm just curious where I have him on FanDuel. I have him at 3% projected on both sites, and I think it actually does make some sense. We'll get into the FanDuel builds in a minute. I'm going to real quick just address a few things in chat because we've got some questions and some thoughts coming in. Let's see. Gino says Brian will get 25 plus sooner or later. Absolutely no reason to gamble for it on this slate. Absolutely no reason. If you hear for some reason that Mo Wagner and Jan Mahinmi are out and that he's going to play 24 minutes, that's a different story. That's not the case right now. So LBJ and Davis with Bledsoe and Davis. Wait, I'm trying to understand the question. Seems like LBJ and Davis with Bledsoe and Davis game stack. That's too many Davises.
He corrected with Giannis.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. I'm sorry. I missed that. Okay, that's too many. For me, I don't want to go crazy. I'm attacking the best players in this game because
Same.
Yeah, it's not like a good spot. These are two of the best defensive teams in the NBA. That's just not for me. How do we feel about LeVert? I can answer that one first before I go to you. I love LeVert today. He'll probably be at somewhere around 30% of my lineups as of this moment. Maybe we'll end up higher. I'm still just waiting to figure it out. There's a lot of guards that I like on FanDuel at shooting guard. A lot of players I like at shooting guards. My favorite position on FanDuel and on DraftKings. There's just a lot of guys to like everywhere. So I have about 30% of him on each. How about you?
There's so many guys to like tonight. This is another game. This game and the Minnesota-Orlando game are real sneaky that I think don't get any love. I think pieces from both sides of this game are wildly in play. San Antonio's got kind of that Utah, lingering people. They used to be good defense, so people are afraid to pick on them. They suck. Yeah. And they're awful. They're missing their big men. I think a bunch of Brooklyn is in play. LeVert is their best piece right now. Yeah, on another slate, I would personally take a shot on Jared Allen over Thomas Bryant. I'm not going to do it.
1,000,000% with you. I have a little bit of Jared Allen tonight. I think he's the guy you gamble on because there is
he's too cheap.
Yeah, and his upside is literally 50 plus. He can go out there and break the slate for you. Thomas Bryant, while he could do that at 3,800 if you had the same role he had last year, he's not going to do that for you at this moment, and especially coming off of injuries and stuff. It's just not on this slate for me. Of course, he's going to go out and score 40 fantasy points tonight now just because we said that. All right, I'm going to take a few other questions here. Can we get a little thoughts on Lillard for DK? I think he goes unowned there. I totally agree. I'm 100% on board with Lillard tonight. I think he's a phenomenal tournament play. But again, the only issue we're talking about here is how many guys do we want to talk about how great at plays they are. I actually have Lillard as a priority because of his lack of ownership, especially on FanDuel at 9K. It almost feels like we could get away with just stealing there. I understand why he'll be low owned because of Trey and then Luke is just a little bit higher, but 9K for Lillard, who could put up 70 here and win us a slate, especially because we love the Phoenix run back. What do you think about Lillard?
I mean, what's not to like about Lillard here? It's just a matter of, like you said, there's so many guys in play on this slate. It's do you like Lillard or do you like LeBron? Because it's hard to play all these guys.
Right.
I like Lillard a lot. Personally, from this game, and that's, I think, easiest for me to break it down, Booker is more of my priority than Lillard.
Yeah.
Now, Lillard is probably the next piece I like from this game, but Booker with no Ayton, with no Oubre, in a rough 4-game stretch for them, I think we see the best of Booker tonight. I want him.
I love Booker tonight as well. I think he's extremely popular. I shouldn't have an issue with that on this slate because there's so many ways I can differentiate elsewhere.
Exactly.
If I want to play a guy like that, but I do really like a guy on his team who I think is going to get far lower ownership than he should and probably almost has the same ceiling. I know that sounds crazy, but he just did it. Ricky Rubio won me a lot of money the other night with the little Utah revenge. Ricky Rubio without both those guys also. Now, while Ayton being out should technically help Booker more, we still have seen, look, Rubio's he's 2 games removed from a streak of 45, 40, 65, 42, 47. He's 7K. He's going to be low owned. The matchup is pretty prime, actually, against, especially the way they played against the guards this year in Portland. And you have a high total with a nice game. I just think that there's a lot of pieces I like, and Rubio is definitely one of them. You can play, and obviously we're probably going to be playing Baines, I guess, in half of our lineups, right, on DK?
I think if you have a really chalky build and you have a 2-for-2 swap that's like Booker and another guy swap chalky, you can think about going Rubio and someone else. He's in play surely at 7-1. I prefer Booker, but I love your points. He is going to be way lower owned. He's cheaper. They have similar upside. I like Booker more in this spot. It's more of a gut feel, and you have to kind of draw the line somewhere. But I like all your points.
Yeah, and by the way, it's because of the nature of losing that much usage on their team. Maybe it's not the right slate for it, but I don't hate if you wanted to maybe throw one lineup where you could run both of them and play Lillard right back on FanDuel. I think it's actually the way the pricing is done. It's not hard for me to see those guys getting around 50 in a matchup against, and you have Lillard who could get you 60. You get 160 between those 3 guys, and you're off to a beautiful start for a game stack. And you could even throw in a cheap piece from this game too, like an Ariza or a cheaper piece because he doesn't need the shots or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking out loud, but I do like that game as a game mini stack.
Same. That would get a lot more love if it weren't for Atlanta, Washington. Here's my main question for you because I'm really interested to pick your brain here. Baines, he's obviously a really good value play today. He's 3K, no Ayton. He's probably going to start, and he's probably going to play somewhere around 20 to 25 minutes. However, he's not going to play more than that probably, and he doesn't have massive upside. On a slate with a ton of value, we talked about Dwayne Dedmon, but not even at center. We've talked about Augustine, Jerome Robinson. We like Porzingis at center. How much of a must is Baines for you?
So I think on DraftKings he makes a lot, obviously just logical sense. He allows you to do everything. I have him right now as less than the field, which is 50% still. But it's a good question. There's a lot of arguments I can make for fading. The guy hasn't played more than 16 minutes in over a month.
Right?
We've seen this happen before, and it just feels like on a giant slate, maybe we don't need to, and there's some middling builds. So in my 3 big lineups right now, because I'm going stars and scrubs, and 2 of them, he's in 2 of the 3 ones on DraftKings. But I have, I'm probably going to end up with 1 Baines lineup out of my big 3 on DraftKings. And I think that what I will do, though, is he will definitely be in a lineup of mine on FanDuel where he'll be unowned at 4,900. Because if he does get those 25 minutes, I think that he has a really good shot at having a double-double type of a game. So I would play him where no one plays him over there. Now there's another center I like. It's way cheaper, and I'm going to bring in my FanDuel lineups now. And there's one common thing you can see amongst all of them. It gives you a little bit of a feel for how I play too, because I do. It'll pop up in just a second, probably. Sorry to cover your face up for a second there, but I want to just show these. There's one guy who I have all but locked in at center right now. And it's probably not the guy. I guess he's probably getting a little bit more love now, but he's definitely seemed like a very low-owned idea at the beginning of the day for me. That's Wendell Carter.
Interesting. I wasn't even really thinking about Wendell Carter.
So
Go on.
Can I make my case?
Go on.
All right. So Wendell Carter his minutes are trending back. He's coming back from the injury. I think a lot of sharp people are going to be on this. I expect him to be low-owned in the low, smaller fields. I actually think in the high buy-ins, like the 333 or the whatever it may be, I think you're going to see some ownership there. He played 25 minutes in his last game. He hasn't played particularly well. Was 1 rebound away though. Basically was just right near a double-double, which would have got him at 30. I think the minutes increased tonight. They definitely need size, even no matter what, they need size to match up. You're going to get limited minutes on Markkanen, but it's going to be much less than Carter's are. Center sucks on FanDuel. 4K, I think he has literally, if he plays 26 minutes, which is definitely a possibility. Now, if he plays 30 minutes, I think he's like the play of the day on. Like I don't think like lock. I actually would probably not even consider anybody else, and that's in the cards. I mean, the coaching staff is saying 28 plus minutes possibly. Like we're getting a guy who we would pay $6K for in this spot, especially as you take away Levine's usage. They're going to have to run some things through him. Obviously, the matchup isn't good, like from a viewing standpoint, but a slow down game like this, he's going to be cleaning up all the boards. He's going to have a double double. I think he's going way overlooked, and he also is a guy who can get you blocks and steals. I think you're looking at a guy who's going to be somewhere between 25 and 45. I really think that's where his range is today. I think it's very rare that he's lower than 25 if he plays 28 minutes.
I definitely can get on board with that, especially at that cheap of a price on FanDuel. So a couple other things. Indiana's actually been gotten by opposing centers this year. I mean, not to the likes of Chicago, but I don't mind picking on Indiana with opposing centers at all. To that point, in his last 4 games, I mean, you'll take that. If you told me he was putting up those numbers, I'd play him at 5K on DK tonight, even on this slate.
Absolutely. I'm actually considering him on DK. That's how much I believe in this guy. I mean, if the matchup was better, if it was Minnesota again and we was going to get the minutes or something like that, I would probably be much more into him on DK. But, I mean, he is just like – this is a guy who was putting up 40s left and right last year and will be doing the same thing again. He's a spectacular talent. I just don't think people have caught up to that. He's getting back in the flow of things. He's the guy who I think is his ownership. I look now, it's like 5 times what it was this morning in the projections. People are going to get onto it because of his. I mean, I'm telling you, man, this guy is as I think he's as safe for 25 as anybody, and I feel great about playing him at 41 on FanDuel.
On DK, who would you take a shot on? Him at 5K or Jared Allen at 48?
It's a really good question. The weirdest part about that is Jared Allen is probably going to play fewer minutes almost unquestionably.
Just thinking that. The weirdest part about that is that Allen's minutes are more questionable at this point. And honestly, I think I'd rather play Carter based on, that spiel you just gave. And it's in my head right now, though. So
it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's weird because I'm also even like open to. I actually think that I'm looking at some expert picks over here, and this guy has definitely got some love throughout the industry for good reason. I'm gonna catch up with chat in a minute. But I'm gonna scroll through my lineups, pick me apart. Like, look, some of these are just long shot flyers that are placeholders. I'm gonna find something different to do with the Diallos. We're without Trey. I don't know anything yet, so I'm just sort of like. I still like Herter, by the way, on FanDuel no matter what. He's 5K, great matchup, has a ceiling for sure. I like Beasley a lot. I don't like Brooks that much, but I just sort of threw him into. I'm just probably going to have to edit it. I think I didn't have the extra 100. I really like Marcus Smart. I wanted to get your thoughts on him. I didn't mention him before. I know we have Kemba play more minutes. It is Marcus Smart's birthday. Assuming in competitive games, the guy puts up numbers. What are your thoughts? Is he in play for you at all tonight? I mean, he's 6,100 on FanDuel. He's pretty interesting.
He is interesting there. I doubt I would get there on this slate. I don't care about the birthday narrative, really. The one thing I do like about him is that he let a lot of people down his chalk last slate, and it's typical Marcus Smart to play a really good game here. I just don't think this is a game I really want to go out of my way for DFS purposes. There's just too many other spots I like personally.
Okay, I'm going to just point out that he put up 46 against this team like a week ago, and he 6,100 at lower ownership finally, like kind of interesting. I mean, no Jaylen Brown and no Hayward and a limited Kemba. I mean, they've got to get offense from somewhere. It's not going to be Brad Wanamaker. And Tatum is just one man. You got to have some help. I don't know. I'm interested in it maybe a little bit more than you are, I guess.
It's funny, though, because Utah has been gotten by opposing shooting guards. 20 for shooting guard starters. I mean, the last 5 against them, R.J. Barrett, 28. Kevin Porter, who I love, by the way,
Me too.
31. Bradley Beal, 70. Jaylen Brown, 33. And Devin Booker, 45. So I don't mind it at all. I'm just not sure I land there just because I'm just not sure he fits my bill.
Right. All right, well, I'm gonna take my screen away. We're gonna talk about some other just betting trends from BetQL, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about what some of the people in chat are talking about. Want to remind everybody we have a new pricing structure over here, and if you enter the code BobbyFi, get 30% off your first month. You can do this even if you do a 3-month trial. It's not like you're locked in for a year, so just jump on in and do that if you want to. If not, just download the RotoQL and BetQL app for free. It makes perfect sense. There's nothing, not charging anything. They're really helpful and handy. I always talk about why I like the RotoQL side of things. It's like it's literally a tournament player's projection site. It's extremely aggressive. It's the only site that was ahead of the curve with the Westbrook ahead of I had Westbrook out scoring Harden several times when no one else was betting on that. Things like that make it a really, really valuable tool. So it's one that I like quite a bit. I just wanted to point that one out. And I just wanted to see real quick. I've got a few trends that we sort of have, but for some reason my computer is not opening them. Here it goes. Looks like it's finally snapping into it. Yeah, this computer update has slowed me down quite a bit today. Let's see. All right. Well, I don't have them up right now, but they'll come up in a minute. In the meantime, I'd love for you to say some other just flat out like bets that you think are interesting just from a straight sports betting perspective, not DFS.
So a game that is interesting to me is this Orlando-Minnesota game.
Mm-hmm.
These teams just played. They played like a week ago. Game went way higher than the total, than the total listed. I think it was like a 135 to 126 game. The total's high tonight. It's 233 now. It opened at 234.5. However, looks like sharp money's on the under in that game, and that's where I would lean. Not saying that that's like a strong play for me. I'm just not sure I'm buying what these teams sold last game. Right. I don't think they have another one of those shootouts in them. I'm really interested to get your take on Terrence Ross, but that's a game where I lean on the under. What's your feel?
I like Terrence Ross, but I prefer Beasley. I'm a big Beasley fan, by the way, in case you didn't know that.
I did.
I'm biased towards him. He's won me a lot of money, and I actually just am a fan of his game. I think that this is a real thing, and I'm going to get some viewers to piss some people off. In terms of real-life basketball, the best part of anything that Minnesota did to me was getting him, not getting D'Angelo Russell. Because I still don't think D'Angelo Russell will ever be the point guard of a great team, ever. I don't think it's even possible. And
are you saying that Beasley is better than D'Angelo Russell?
No, I'm saying he's more valuable to a team. I mean, Trevor Ariza was more valuable than a lot of guys who were scoring 20 points a game a few years ago. You know what I mean? PJ Tucker's more valuable than Trae Young in some ways. You know what I mean? It just depends on how you weigh it. Kevin Huerter, this is the example I always use. Kevin Huerter is much more likely to me to win a title at some point in his career than Trae Young is. I don't see Trae Young ever starting for a title team. I just don't think it's possible.
I get your point. Like, Huerter is a nice role player.
Exactly.
I get your point.
You need to have role players.
I'm just not sure, I get your point, and I don't disagree about Beasley. I just want to see it more, because we've hardly seen it, because he's barely
been really good. He's good. He's been really good since he got to Minnesota.
Florida State. I liked him at Florida State. I also like D'Angelo Russell. Now, D'Angelo Russell is definitely a guy that's going to get you numbers more than wins, though. I don't think that anyone...
Yeah, I don't like guards who don't get to the foul line, although he's gotten a little bit better, who don't attack, who don't get to the foul line, who don't get many assists, who take a lot of bad shots, who have really low true shooting percentages. I just don't want my point guards like that, who don't play defense also. That's just me.
What's your take on Kyrie? Like, compare D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie for me.
I think Kyrie is about 1,000 times the talent that D'Angelo Russell would ever have a dream of being. Kyrie is like one of the – I mean, look, he won them that title. I mean, look, LeBron won the title, but Kyrie, they don't win the title without Kyrie, without a doubt. Not just the shot. I mean, like, literally, he took over in spots. And a lot of times when the games mattered, as you know, should know from a Cleveland fan, there were plenty of games where he was the one they went to down the stretch. He was the guy who carried them down the stretch of games, not LeBron all the time. It was Kyrie. He's one of the best one-on-one players I've ever seen. He's the best ball handler I've ever seen. So I think he's maybe a toxic person from what everybody says about him and all this stuff in the locker room. But I think as far as his game goes, I think it's gotten to the point where he's really underrated because people.
I don't disagree with that, but I also wouldn't disagree with someone who said that a team with him as their best player is never winning. You know, a team with him as their starting point guard is not winning a title.
Oh no, the Nets are going to be able to compete for a title. If you have Kevin Durant, you can do all kinds of. I hate Kevin Durant as a person. But I love him as a I think as a player, he just is a game and Kyrie is that kind of personality. I think they actually would mesh well together, and we'll see. I mean, I like the Nets' other pieces too. I actually think the Nets.
I agree, but I think they'd be better without Kyrie.
Maybe and I think that's the common trend. I'm just going to go with long-term results over the recent thing. I think that Kyrie can play, and I think it depends on the.
We can argue about this all day.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting though. I think it is an interesting conversation. We got a bunch of questions coming in, guys. Appreciate you guys getting the questions in. Sorry we haven't gotten to all of them. We're having a little good conversation over here. I'm going to take a quick look. Gary Clark, do not play Gary Clark tonight. Can you double with me on that one?
Well, he's not even
on the board.
If I played 150, I wouldn't be playing him any times.
If he somehow snuck in, I would get him out of there. All right. I liked him. What's up?
One thing I want to address in the chat, because it says got Beasley too, Ross not starting. I understand liking Beasley more than Ross or liking both of them, but it has nothing to do with Ross not starting.
Oh, no, that's better for him not starting anyway. And he never starts.
He never starts.
Yeah.
This is his role. He's playing really good ball right now. Now, I don't love Ross because he's hurt me so many times in the past, but that's neither here nor there. He's definitely in play here.
I have those two in some FanDuel lineups, or at least I have it in my notes of my script, that they have to be, some Ross Beasley just at shooting. I really think you can get 40 from each of those guys potentially tonight, and I'll take those 40, those at 80 at just using up the 5K guys in my shooting guard spot. But there's just so many good shooting guards on FanDuel, and that's really where I like Beasley better and where I like Ross better, to be honest, because the price is better. All right, let's see. 24 enough would be enough for who is TLC good value? TLC is terrible value. Can you agree with that?
I will never play TLC, to be quite honest.
I mean, literally it would take a 7-man rotation where he's going to get 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's about what we're talking about. And not even in consideration.
If TLC beats me tonight, I mean, good night. You know what I'm saying? I'll wake up tomorrow and play another slate.
Yeah. How about, let's see, who's Owundu? Don't play Owundu. No, look, we all knew Owundu was going to start. Don't play Wes Owundu. Can we agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys please discuss targeting players in pace-up spots for NBA DFS? Like tonight, the Magic and Heat players are awesome pace-up environments. Does the home team dictate the pace of the game? So I'll weigh in and then I'll let you weigh in. In general, for average to whatever teams, usually the better team is going to dictate the pace, and the home team has a better chance of dictating the pace at home than they do on the road. I would say that the home team can dictate pace more often than the road team can, but usually it has to do with who the better team is because they can usually dictate what they want. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree with you. As far as, the Magic and Heat players tonight, first off, as far as the Heat goes, they're all in play. There's just a lot of those guys to decipher between, and I think there's better spots on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going out of my way for any of those guys. They're all certainly in play as filler pieces. And as far as the Magic go, they're definitely in play as well. You mentioned Vucevic in passing a little bit earlier, and with Fournier out, it just opens up a ton for everyone. I like Sabonis more than Aaron Gordon, but Aaron Gordon's won me a ton of money in the past, so I could never argue with anyone who wants to play him here. After you say your piece here, I want to touch on the Pacers-Bulls game just from a betting side. So
okay, we'll get into that one in a minute. Yeah, I would say that I like Aaron Gordon on FanDuel is much better. They're both better. They both are going to be popular on FanDuel, and they're both good plays over there. Aaron Gordon at 7,100. With the way they've been playing at a completely different speed. This is like a different kind of team. I think
it's weird.
Do you know what's going to happen? I'm telling you this. So I had this weird if they end up playing Toronto in the first round of the playoffs again, I actually think that I think they're a playoff matchup. Wait, let me finish for a second. They're a tough matchup in a certain aspects. They're strange and long. I'm talking about if Isaac's there and if everybody's back. They have some weird pieces, and then they've got these weird guys like Terrence Ross who can literally score 20 and a quarter and win you a playoff kind of game. Like they have Vucevic, they have a guy they can go to down the stretch. They've got talented young guys. They've got kind of an interesting roster that I feel like would be tough in a 4 out of 7. And I just think that I don't know, maybe they're getting a little bit better than people think. I'm happy to be wrong, but I just think that they're kind of interesting from a defensive, what they can do defensively.
So let me preface this by saying they're not good, but they have talent. They should be better. I feel like I've felt this way about them for a while, though. I mean, they definitely have talent. They're definitely better than the teams behind them in the East. Now, they're definitely worse than the teams above them. They're like the same as Brooklyn in my eyes right now without Durant.
Yeah, I think they're better than Brooklyn, but I understand. I know that the record doesn't show it, but that's just my personal.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
They probably have more talent with Durant and Kyrie out.
And they've also had. They haven't had Jonathan Isaac, who I think might be their in the long term. He might be their best player. And
he was on his way to all defensive all first team.
Yeah, he's spectacular.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I don't think they beat Toronto, but could they take a game or two? Especially like you said. I mean, if Ross gets hot, they've got talent. So I don't think they beat Toronto, but I don't hate where your mind's at either.
Yeah, I'm just saying that going in the years forward, I sort of see what they're doing, even with the guys who aren't quite there yet. But and it's fun to talk about these things as that comes in for you. They've got a lot of interesting pieces. They don't have this true superstar. And I know that sounds like an obvious thing, but they've got a lot of cool pieces that I think that you could, if they get lucky and maybe Fultz takes a leap somehow. He's still young. Maybe they get lucky in a draft with somebody. If you plug one more guy into that, I feel like they've got four to six good pieces.
The guy that, it always seems like they're, with Vucevic, who's really good for them, but he's not good enough to be the best player on any sort of contending team. Is Bamba. Like, what's his deal? Because he's got talent, obviously not really offensively. He just gets no run, and he was drafted really high last year. That's setting them back.
It's weird, too, because you have Vooch. Like, how can he get minutes?
Right, that's true, but listen, I can't argue with you here. I'm over here hyped on, like, the Sexton, Kevin Porter, future. So I get it why you think Orlando's good.
I would be with you what you said almost, by the way. But I'm on the Garland page. I know it sounds crazy.
I like him, too.
I like Garland, I like Sexton, and I like Porter. I like all of those guys a lot. And I think Porter is the steal of all of them. Porter is I mean, I was just screaming his praises. I probably cursed him the other day because I was like, you lock Porter into I don't like locking players in when I play a bunch of lineups, but I'm like, this is the guy as closest to it as you can possibly be. And of course he gets hurt that game, but he's going to be. I mean, his talent level would have been like he's like a top 3 talent level guy from the draft in my opinion.
I remember hearing like a scout, these scouts that like train all the NBA players, all the guys coming into the draft. He was asked like right after the draft or right before the draft who the guy who was going to be the steal of the draft was, and he like laughed. He was like Kevin Porter.
Yeah,
I mean, not even a question.
I totally am with you on that one. All right, I'm going to take a quick look at some of the things that people are saying here. We've got this is one we didn't talk about. I like the Washington power forwards too. They asked if we like them. If I prefer Rui, and I prefer him especially on FanDuel at 5,300. I feel like Rui's going to be in the 30-plus range. I believe in this guy's talent, and now he's coming back from the injury. The minutes have gone up. He's ticked him back into the 30-plus minute range. I feel like it's a good matchup for him. So I think Rui is definitely a guy who I could see getting that 6 to 7x. Probably not going to win you an entire tournament, but definitely could be a part of a winning lineup, holding it together with a 6 or 7x type of performance.
That whole game's in play, man. Like, those guys aren't priorities for me, but if you went 7 deep on that game, like, I couldn't blame you. It just, that game has a ton of fantasy upside. To be perfectly clear, they played twice this year. The last time they played, it was like a 150 to 130 game. The time before that, it dud it, but clearly the upside's real.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about that that Bulls game that you wanted to talk about with Indiana.
So, like I said, I'm a contrarian bettor, as you know. I'm usually where the sharp side lays, and I don't love this game. But sharp money is pouring in on the Bulls here. Now, that might have to do with the Indiana injuries, and the Bulls are at home, but I'm not buying it. I think Indiana wins this game no matter what. I don't like laying points on the road, so it's not a game I touch. But I'm also not going to follow the sharp money and just bet the Bulls. What's your take?
I'm 100% on Indiana in this game. I think Indiana wins this game easily. Easily might be a stretch, but I think they control the game. I don't think we're sweating at the end of the game. I really don't. I think that the Indy wins this game by 7+ points probably. So I'm on the Indy side of it. I can't give away with BetQL, people say. But I will stop in and say, Sheets, welcome to good to see you, man. Everybody else, guys, please give us the like, the thumbs up. We're doing this content for free, and we just really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Get some QQs in before we get out of here. We're probably going to be on for another 8 to 10 minutes or so. But get some QQs in the chat. We want to answer some questions. We're going to obviously have a lot more viewers in the future, so it's good to get familiar with us now because we'll always pick your names out in the future when we see your names pop into the different chat rooms of the different sites we're on. So anyway, I'm going to take here's one quick one. What's an optimal way to correlate your DFS lineups, or do you just mix and match your own players? That's a very broad question. Do you want to try and take a shot at answering part of that?
I mean, for me, and this is what, when you get questions like this, I'm sure you feel a similar type of way. Everything is slate dependent, right? They're really, every slate has its own rules. Not to say there are no rules, but every slate creates its own rules, and you have to look at every slate differently. So tonight's just going to be different from tomorrow. So I don't set rules like that going into the night. I look at the slate and then, really make my roster based off that. What's your take?
Yeah, I totally agree. It depends on the slate. There's certain times where I've won without correlating at all, and I usually am a guy who I think the right way to play in the long run is to err, especially in tournaments on the side. Main players, not just in the overtime, but down the stretch of those games. That's where you make all your money a lot of the nights. And you look at a lot of, any night there's an overtime game, it's pretty likely that at least one or two players from that game is on the winning lineup. So I'm not saying you bet just praying for overtime, but all the correlations that make sense. I mean, people say, is it point guard center? Is it this, that? It doesn't. I don't think it matters. I think it's different by each team and each slate. But in general, I use it as a tiebreaker more than anything else. Like today, I have Beasley and Ross is a great example, though. Unfortunately, same game. But if I had too much Orlando guy, if I had Vucevic in that lineup, maybe I would put Beasley on the other side. Whereas if I was playing D'Angelo Russell, maybe I would put Ross. Make sense?
Sure. And for me, the correlation more comes from the OT is obviously the wild card, right? And that's where game stacking comes in play, especially on smaller slates. But for me, the correlation comes with expensive players, right? Especially in games that could be blowout-y. Like when you have like a Trae Young against a Giannis, let's say, Atlanta versus Milwaukee. If I'm using Giannis in that spot, or if I'm using Trae Young in that spot, either one, I'm expecting that game to be close-ish. I want that game to be close.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going to use a Giannis on the other side. Not saying you have to, but I'm more inclined to. Mm-hmm. The lesser expensive they get, though, the less I'm inclined to do that, just because it matters less.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes perfect sense. This is the I wanted to talk real quickly about a few trends that we have on BetQL today. I'm just going to pull it up real quick. One of them is going to go against one of your bets here, which I think is interesting because I'm very high on that. So basically, the Thunder have failed to cover the spread in their last 5 games. For a team that was covering the spread every day, that's kind of weird, but they've also played a lot of back-to-backs. I don't feel like I need to go touch this game either way. How about you? I don't think I feel good about betting the Knicks ever.
No, OKC's been one of the best, road teams against the spread in the league, but I don't like road favorites, and I'm not interested in touching the Knicks here, so I'm with you.
How about this one? So this is what I was alluding to about the Orlando and Minnesota playing fast, so fast. The Orlando has hit the over in 9 straight games, but I feel like this might be the time when they're almost overcorrecting by making a 233 total. But it is Minnesota and they play really quick, so it's one that while the sharp money is on the under here, I actually kind of I don't know what I would do. I'm going to leave this one alone. But for DFS, you can see why we like this game. This is a different Magic. They're playing completely different than they played the first half of the season.
It's bizarre. I'm not sure exactly what's gotten into them, but You're 100% right. And even if I think that the game goes under, first off, it's just a lean for me. My main play of the night is the Utah Jazz.
Yep.
That's really my only strong love. I like the under here. I probably wouldn't bet I wouldn't bet the over, but I doubt I'd touch it. But as far as DFS goes, you have to separate the two because even if you like the under there, it's still 233, and there could still be turnovers. It's hard to separate betting from DFS.
Yeah.
Especially I like Utah tonight, so I'm less prone to take like a Marcus Smart, for instance, like I mentioned earlier in the show. Because why do I want to take Marcus Smart against my favorite side of the night when there's so many plays on the slate? However, that's a bad way to look at it because they're too independent.
No, but I think it is fair somewhat, especially when there's so many plays. You need to find some way of making some. You're going to have to make some concessions. All right. So
why am I going to play Marcus Smart on this slate when I like Utah tonight when there's so many guys in play? Now I don't hate the play, but exactly what you said.
Yeah. I want to point out also the Bucks have gone 2-4 against the spread in their last 6 road games. I'm not touching this game with anything. I watched that first game, and to me, the Lakers have gotten better since then. Milwaukee looked not just better, but so much better when they played last time. You can't put everything in that, obviously, and the Lakers have looked good. I don't know which way this game is going to go. I honestly don't feel like a blowout in either direction would surprise me all that much. I'm a Laker fan, and I just want to lay on this game. How about you? I don't want to touch it.
I'm not going to bet it, but if I did bet it, it would be the Lakers' money line. I think this is a big game. It's a big game for both teams, but I think you see, like you said, LeBron's best effort. You see their best defensive effort, while they can be unimpressive offensively at times, besides about the regular season. I like the Lakers if I had to choose a side here. Steven Becker, though, asked where I'm from in Cleveland. I'm also from the east side, from Solon. Me and my wife live out here, so that's that.
There you go. Nice. I just think with this game, I think it's interesting. I want to point out just it's interesting that the odds are even because basically you have these teams similar odds to win the title. Same with the Clippers, who I think are now leapfrogging both. But it's odd to see the home team not like. If this game was in Milwaukee would be a 3.5 point favorite, a 3-point favorite probably at least.
At least.
Yeah. So just think about that when everybody talks about how the Lakers are the team to beat. I understand in a playoff series and all the impressions, but I watch what Giannis does every night, and I'm not.
LeBron and the Warriors have won rings.
Yeah.
I mean, the past recent NBA.
Right.
So Giannis is going to get his at some point. I personally think it's going to be a Lakers-Bucks finals. I like the Lakers because I always side with LeBron James, and I think he's on a mission after last year, and he's just that guy, and I think you see him turn it up in the playoffs. And I think AD is just along for the ride. But I He's playing awesome too. I love LeBron. So I got the Lakers, but it is surprising to me that they're like the favorites. But the Clippers are creeping, like you said.
Yeah, I'm a Laker fan, regular stuff since we're going over in time anyway. As I told you, and again, he still has time to prove me wrong. But Lamar Jackson, as I said, when Lamar Jackson hadn't, I don't think he even started yet. I think me and you had an argument in Florida, not an argument, a conversation about Baker, and I was saying that Lamar Jackson was the best player in that draft. Is it too early for me to take my victory lap?
I mean, no, because he just won MVP. He obviously let down in the playoffs, but I mean, clearly right now I'd rather have him over Baker Mayfield. I mean,
yeah,
that's not even a question. I mean, who is Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, man. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust him. I know you like him, but I don't trust him. All right, we have another question for. So, if you were betting on who was going to win the title, you said you bet the Lakers. I honestly don't know who I would bet. Last night did a.
Sounds like you would lean the Bucks, but you want the Lakers.
No, I think that it would, but I don't even like. That's what I'm saying. I love the Lakers, but I don't love them the way I used to. It's weird. Like all the guys I like are gone. Like I'm not. To me, Kobe was like the Kobe LeBron thing. Like that was. I love LeBron as what he does publicly. I don't always like certain ways that he portrays himself and tries to be Mr. Good Guy all the time. So that stuff always kind of irked me. And I like AD as a player. I feel like they shouldn't be. I feel like the Lakers are getting. They're getting rewarded for doing everything wrong for the last 5 years, and I don't like that. And as someone outside of LA, I would hate that. No, but it's not the Lakers, though. I mean, we look, Kobe. We have more longtime players than anybody. Kobe was a Laker.
True.
Magic was a Laker. We don't. That's why the thing is, people don't even look back and talk about Shaq like he was like our guy. Those are our guys. This is a challenge.
What have you done for me lately, right?
Yeah, but like, I mean, I don't know. It feels weird, and I don't know. It just the whole way everything happened, and also I happen to like the pieces, and I'm a huge fan of just watching the way things are developing in New Orleans. Now, this is not going to be their year, but all those pieces that I really liked, they finally are coming to their own. I mean, you know who looks amazing now? Lonzo. And
dude, there are some good teams like out west creeping. Memphis.
Yep.
I mean, you can say what you want about like Sacramento and Phoenix, but they have good young cores. I mean, OKC's got some pieces, Minnesota, whatever, but the best is New Orleans. Lonzo is the perfect point guard for them. I love Ingram. I mean, he's so far and away better than Kuzma. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest problem for the Lakers, in my opinion, is that Kuzma as their like third scorer just ain't gonna cut it. In my opinion, that's where their downfall will be.
He's a streak scorer. That's what he is, and that's what he'll always be. And not trading him was a giant mistake as part of those things. Like they overvalued him, in my opinion. I think he's a solid player. You know what's funny? I wish they would have kept throughout the whole thing. Now they got lucky because JaVale McGee's played well, and Davis has turned back into. Dwight has been great, man. Like he's actually been a really good basketball player.
Yeah.
But I always liked the idea of sort of if you're going to have. I actually think Larry Nance and LeBron could have gone together well in LA too, and I would have liked to see that combination. I thought it would have been fun to see like a front line of Davis and Nance and just run it. It just would have been kind of a fun thing to see. I like Nance actually as a player, so.
I do too, man. I like the cut of his jib. Like I like him in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. All of a sudden, now getting more PT with those centers hurt, he's putting up good numbers.
Like he's a guy I could see being a 7-man on a title contending team. You know what I mean? Like he's
athletic, he's lanky. I'm with you.
He can help out defensively. There's a lot of things he can do. All right, we got a few quick questions before we get out of here. Hot take of the night for DFS. What's yours?
Easy for me. Jerome Robinson going for 30 plus.
I love it. I'm going to say Wendell Carter goes for 35 plus. How about that? That's bold enough, isn't it? He's 40. He's 4K.
That's pretty bold, man. You've really got me thinking about him because, like, honestly, like I get Baines, but I think Carter's going to throw up 35. Baines is not putting up 35 here.
I don't think Baines is either, but I do think he puts up close to 30 enough where it's an argument. I also, by the way, who's going to be completely lost in, there's matchups where you're going to see this guy play some minutes, and if there was one, it'd be him. Like, complete wild card play of the night. Don't lock him in. Don't go any crazy. But you might take a shot on Enes Kanter. It's probably the wrong slate. He has got more minutes against Utah and played really well against his former team in the past. They used to have good balance. I mean, I'm just saying, just think about it. Like, probably the wrong slate, but I would have been. I said the same thing about Boban the other night, and of course didn't pull any triggers on that, but that would have been pretty sweet. I also want to say one more hot take. I think Kristaps is just getting way too overlooked. And at zero ownership, I'm not saying he's the best play. I'm saying he gets 55 to 65 enough of the time here to where he's a phenomenal tournament play. I think literally you're talking about probably 30% of the time. I really do.
I love it.
The way he's going.
One guy I'm going to call out that I think is getting slept on. We didn't even mention it once on this show. He's been popular recently. He won't be tonight. DeMar DeRozan.
Oh, I'm all over DeMar. Yeah, absolutely. I have in my I think I briefly touched on it when we talked about DraftKings. I have two big lineups with DeRozan and LeVert. And
probably just because I wasn't looking at the show, so I didn't see it.
Gotcha. We got Sheets in the chat. What's he saying? Does BetQL have predictions who will win the championship relative to the odds being offered to them? I will find that information out for you at another time, my friend. Again, please like and subscribe before we get out of here. And I think we're pretty much done. And instead of just asking your hot take of the night, give me like one, maybe a season-long bet or a next season in the NFL, somebody who's going to win just a title contender maybe that no one's talking about.
I'll give you one hot take in that kind of mold.
Okay.
It's not like who's going to win a title, but since baseball's coming up, I hate to say this because I'm the biggest Cleveland Indians fan you ever met, but the White Sox are winning the AL Central this year.
I'm with you. Totally. All right, man. Hey, it's great having you on. We're going to have a lot more people on. We'll do this again at another point. Me and Matt have got to go on each other's shows and do this more often because we have a great time, and hopefully it's going to lead to some great results for you guys and us as well tonight. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. For Matt, I'm BobbyFi saying we will see you at the top of the leaderboards.
Thanks, bro. It was fun.
All right. I'm ending this.